Welcome to the Process of Healing Survivor Edition. I'm very excited about the conversation we're going to have today with Miss Hope Rose. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
What I love about these conversations, Hope, is this is therapy for me too. Like, it's very therapeutic. I listen to the episodes back and I just love them. And with that being said, I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have today and the healing that you've experienced. So why don't you do a bit of an introduction, if you don't mind?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on 3 years and keeping the podcast going. That's incredible. And thank you for the listeners who are continuing to support the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's amazing as well. A little bit about my background is I grew up in a very traumatic household with a lot of abuse. And there are some wonderful things about my childhood. And unfortunately, the abuse and the violence and the things that I grew up in overshadowed into my adult life. And how I got to where I now is I was involved in a domestically abusive relationship, got pregnant, had a little baby, then he walked out on us. It was abusive in every which way. Financially, emotionally, psychologically, and it still is ongoing as we record.
Oh,
He
wow.
eventually walked out on me and my baby when my son was 7 months old. And I share this backstory because the healing that I am continuing to experience it's been so profound because of the deep trauma that I've gone. And I don't even say capital T trauma. I say capital TRAUMA. It is trauma in all capital letters, bold print, giant typeface. It is a heavy load.
And feel
Uh,
free to share as much detail of your story as you'd like. I know that my listeners, they do like to hear the story because they can relate to it. And then we end on the good note of healing. So don't feel like you have to fast forward through anything. You tell us any and all that you want.
yeah. So the current chapter I'm in my movie scene is so this has been going on for 6.5 years at this point. And as soon as he walked out on us, we were not legally married, and that was by choice. He walked out on us, literally sent me a text. He was on a plane and he wasn't going to tell me when he was coming back. This was over a holiday weekend. It was probably one of the darkest times of my life of having a baby. He was the sole provider. When I was a month postpartum, he attempted to take out a life insurance policy on me and my son. I will let those listeners know I don't know if that's active. I've gotten conflicting reports on that and nothing on him. So, this is the type of individual that we are dealing with. Abuse can come from a variety of different ways. In a domestic situation, it can be quite insidious, like just giving a birth. I had a miscarriage in the previous year, just going through a lot hormonally and giving birth and breastfeeding and all of that stuff. So, was not dealing with a very honorable, respectful individual. When he walked out on us, he eventually returned 10 days later and changed the locks in our house, drained our joint checking account, and then closed it all without my knowledge. Took the car away that he had given me because he got my car repossessed because he wasn't paying for it. Meanwhile, he's taking lavish trips. And then took me to court for custody and child support. So that was also very peculiar. And
You were taking care of the child, but he wanted you to pay him.
I'm not even sure. Yes, actually, in the very initial court papers, yes, I believe he wanted me to pay him child support. And the initial petition was just so crazy. But now that you bring that up, I think he and his attorney had calculated that I would pay him child support because he was paying insurance or something to that effect.
It makes me wonder. Oh, I don't want to overstep, but with what you were saying with the life insurance policy and things like that, like I have another podcast that is true crime. Like I watch true crime documentaries. Now, obviously, that's a red flag, right? And so when you're mentioning this of him taking you to court for child support, I'm like, what is he trying to get ahead of? What is he trying to have document of showing where he was the one, like some kind of paper trail of something?
And to be clear, I do not know if that life insurance policy was ever finalized, but he has forged my signature on other documents. There's emails of we got the blood work done for the life insurance policy. I mean, it's not like I'm just making this up. And I think that's where a lot of survivors go, just like the crazy making after. Did I live that? And
Right.
so for the listeners to know that no, you're not crazy making, what you have lived is valid, it's real, it's your experience. Healing will come on the other side. But meanwhile, because when you go through something so traumatic like this, you're just, I didn't even think about this life insurance policy until I casually mentioned it to a close friend like a year later. And they were like, you need to call the insurance company now. Because he did try to take my life a couple of times. Left the carbon monoxide detectors, left a gas leak in the house, text where he's projecting about stabbing me with a knife in the middle of the night. Like,
Yeah,
just
so
really.
whether it's alleged or proven or disproven or whatever, the fact like it's justifiably so that your mind would go there and that you're needing to do as much investigation as you can for your own safety and own mentality. To me, it doesn't matter if there was one there or not. The fact there was enough reason for you to be alarmed and scared that there could be or wonder why there could be, that's enough for me.
Thank you. So I'll have to see if I have all the original files, but I do believe, back to the initial question, I believe he was trying to get me to pay him. I think the child support he wanted me to pay him was like $400. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then the whole thing was like, he didn't even have health insurance on the child to begin with, but they wanted me to reimburse him. And I'm just like, it was just all crazy making. It just was insane.
Take glasses off, I'm mad.
Oh, it gets worse. So we go to court at the beginning of 2019. And of course, he gets ordered to pay child support, like to me. And then he like throws a fit. And I'm like, you're the one who filed the petition. I'm the respondent. I would never take you to court. I'm not a fan of the government at all. I don't co parent with the government. I don't coexist with the government. That is not my deal. So he refused to pay child support for a year and a half and only saw my son one time. He immediately, within the first month of ditching us, had a live in girlfriend who then sold my stuff on Facebook, and they moved out of state within the first month, like 1,200 miles away. This is going to be a movie someday. And I'm like, it should be a movie. It's crazy of everything that has happened.
Yeah.
And I was left in a foot of snow, 4 degrees, and a baby without a diaper. And thank God I had some earthly angels who came in and supported us and got somewhat on solid ground. And I was very committed to raising my child. Daycare doesn't raise my child, I raise my child. So I started my own little business out of my home as a bakery, selling at farmers markets, just trying to support myself and my child and do the best I can with very interesting circumstances. We came into a stipulation agreement between him and I in October 2019. These are all kind of important details for the listener to track with where I'm going next with the story. He settled with me 6 days before trial, really, so he wouldn't get hammered with child support. He makes a considerable amount of money and for some reason just believes that I was going to come after him for his money. Our agreement in 2019 does not reflect that. If I wanted his money, I would have gone to trial. And I'm like, I'll take your $500 to keep my son safe. And so he, like, whatever, like the universe will provide. I don't care about the money. I really don't. And yeah, it was like $500 a month, but he still refused to pay. And the visitation was about 12 hours over a 4 day period, no longer than 3 hours at a time. And then child support enforcement caught up with him. And he filed for sole custody just a few months later. And so the agreement that he even made with me wasn't even in full faith. He still refused to pay even that child support that he said he would. And so then did a whole bunch of shenanigans and ex parte orders. And that's what like abusers do, especially the fathers. They know that children are the most important, precious thing to good moms. And
Use as a weapon.
their children are used as a weapon. They look at them as a possession. So was right back in court. We barely even finished court and we're right back into court. And so I held my own. He had very aggressive attorneys. We had a 3 day trial where I held my own for 3 days up against a 30-year trial attorney. I got him impeached twice on the stand for lying. I found that interesting that could do that. And unfortunately, that trial was declared a mistrial. This was the first in-person trial since COVID. And I know enough about true law and the legal process that the whole family court system is a trafficking system. It's an $80 billion a year system. People think child trafficking is children coming over the border. It's not. It's happening in your backyard. It's happening in your front yard. It's happening on your side yard. It is a human trafficking, child trafficking system. And they declared it a mistrial because the recording equipment malfunctioned. Very peculiar. There's so much investigative stuff in my case that if somebody wants to dig into it, please feel free. And it could be a crime for your other crime investigative series.
We may have to stay in touch off record because I know some pretty cool people.
Awesome. We need to talk. Anyway, so it was declared a mistrial. So, like, we were right back to the original parenting plan. They continued, his opposing counsel continued to file things. The first two judges in the case recused themselves at the beginning of 2022. A third judge, again, I was calling out, I filed a federal lawsuit all on my own against all of these court actors because of what you're doing is wrong. And I'm a mama bear. You're not just going to take my rights away without proper due process, and you're violating these different 42 codes and all of this stuff. They didn't like that. They don't like it when people know their rights and stand up for them. So and as I get further in the story, this will be proven as well. And so the third judge got in the case, knew the case all of 9 days, and made a new visitation order that was February, like, I know these dates because of trauma, but February 17th, 2022, there was a visitation. The exchange was at the sheriff's office. My son was still 3. Again, barely even knew this person, like, was just in and out of his life for almost 4 years. My son was born in April, so just on the verge of turning 4. And I had 2 witnesses there, and I said, hey, let the father know my son is still sleeping. We will be en route. The father became irate. It's on police record. And just, I guess he went ballistic. And he called his attorney, and his attorney filed an ex parte alleging that I missed a visit. Therefore, he should get sole legal physical custody, moving the child to a brand new state, 1,200 miles away. No, he had lived with me 365, 24/7 for almost 4 years.
Yeah. So
with strangers. Again, there was no unfitness. There was, like, literally ex parte is behind your back. It's a violation of your due process rights. No evidence. It's just his word against not even my works. I didn't even have a word. And the judge that signed this was only, again, investigative journalist. There was stuff going on. I just, from an intuition standpoint, I just feel something was happening. You can't be like, it's not a good process of the system to be on a case 9 days. You don't know the history of this case that's been going on for 4 years at this point. Like, it's just, something's wrong. And so that order came across my email. It was signed. And I was like, no, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to just turn my child over to complete strangers. You're just literally ripping my child out of my arms, who is very integrated in our community and friends and play groups and open gym, like ski school and skate school. It's just, 3 years later, I'm still aghast at this is what is happening to mothers, primarily all across the States and really probably globally.
And do you mind if I ask you, and forgive my ignorance on this,
Yeah.
but I have heard stories of people not showing up with the child and there not being any communication, but isn't there any kind of grace or leeway that as long as you communicate, that is substantial? And you did that, right?
Correct. I had 2 witnesses there.
Even phone records would show.
And the father never reached out to me. And he's the one, he knew I was en route. We were late, like 15 minutes. It wasn't hours. He was communicated with. I arrived at the location state at the sheriff's office that morning, and he had already left. Again, he leaves and then makes it like my problem. You knew the child was going to be there. Why would you leave? You're the one who left the scene. Can you not wait 15 minutes and put your child's priorities ahead of your own? It was 8 a.m. My child sleeps till 9. Wow. So they flipped custody behind my back without due process, no evidence, like no witnesses, just a piece of paper. And I got us to safety. We had the ex parte Zoom hearing the following week. And his attorney, this is where the kind of the corruption comes in. His attorney said, and the mother won't bend her knee, on record.
What does that even mean? Like,
How I interpret it is that I was calling the system out of what they were doing. And I was a threat to the establishment. That's how I interpret it. I'm not sure how a person with a sound mind, how would you interpret, like, you're threatening me and she won't bend her knee?
okay, because your thought is exactly my thought, but because this is your story and I'm just learning it, I didn't want to throw that out there first. And maybe I shouldn't even say this part yet, but what I keep thinking is you have your baby's father, who is a man with money, and you have this judicial system, which is usually ran by men. And then you have this powerhouse woman that's going to come in here that doesn't have a legal degree, that's holding everybody accountable and knows her shit. And I don't think they like that very much. Am I way off with that?
I was learning the system and the law and legal process as fast as I could. I was learning true law. And we are in a judicial system, we are not in a lawful system. And so I was calling them out. You're breaking like, you're breaking the true laws. They did not like that. And they wanted to, again, she won't bend her knee. I don't think that's going to be the main line in the movie script and in the book.
I think we just found the tagline.
Yeah, she won't bend her knee, Hope Rose. That's this. And I knew right then and there that this was not a custody dispute. This was about beating me to a pulp, teaching me a lesson, punishing me for standing up for rights for not only me, but for individuals all across the country.
I was going to say, and this is just coming from what little bit I do know, right? Which isn't much. But if your case goes viral, if people find out about it, the doors that would open, and they know this, so they have to keep everything hush and under the rug as much as possible. That kind of happened in my case, being a hate crime with a gay man. I'm a gay man. And so they were like under the rug because it was election year as well. And it's when people were really voting for like gay rights and things like that. So it was under the rug. Let's do away as quick as we can with it. And I feel like that's what's happening with you now, because a mother going through what you were going through or has already went through, the doors that would come flying open with what you're doing, they need you to bend your knee and shut your mouth, is what they needed you to do.
And that's why I'm on this podcast today. And I'll get further into the story. It gets worse. It gets really worse, if you can believe it or not. But they really try to silence me. And that's why I'm doing podcasts. That's why I'm speaking out. You are not going to silence me. And you did everything you could to make sure that you're going to keep me under lock and key, quite literally. And the truth was not going to be recognized. Oh, it will. I might be 3 years into this particular chapter. We're just getting started. The truth is going to come out about what is happening on a global, national level. And it's going to be started by my story, by what I have been through, because what has happened was so completely just wrong. It's just your child can be snatched away at any point. There is no safety here, specifically, and I'll just speak it for America, but there is no really protection of just the parental rights in America, and even just being a mom. If we weren't even legally married and you just took my child. Anyway, so we had that Zoom hearing, and on that Zoom hearing, then she was like, I verbally motioned this court to have the mother turn over her child, as if my child, again, who has lived with me his entire life, has no idea what's happening, is like a suitcase. We're just going to turn over this child. Again, no evidence of anything, just alleged that I supposedly missed a visit. And even if that was true, missing a visit for the first time, even you don't lose your rights over a missed visit when there's communication.
Right.
When there's communication, document, and witnesses, like, very strange stuff going on behind the scenes. Closed doors. I won't publicly air what I really think was happening. Yes, exactly. We'll save that. So anyway, I verbally motioned this court to order the mother to turn over her child to CPS law enforcement within, I think it was like 3 days. And if she doesn't, we're going to file for default judgment. What choice would a protective, safe mother biologically make. I'm of sound mind. I've never done drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I live a very crunchy, healthy life. I used to be a sponsored ultra runner, inspirational speaker. I'm like the cleanest person out there. The post separation abuse was just relentless. So I was like, no, I'm not going to bend my knee. It didn't say that, but internally I was like, no, I'm not going to just turn my child over. I didn't do anything wrong. There was no egregious act here. So I kept my child safe. They filed for default judgment, giving him sole legal and physical custody. I pay him child support. He can now claim my child on the previous year tax returns, even though the child never lived with him that year in 2022. How is that not tax fraud? You can get to claim a child in the previous year when the child never even has lived with you a day. Judge
Was he
signed it.
still even behind on child support?
At that point he was up to date
Okay.
on child support and signed the order. Again, no witnesses, no trial, no hearing, no evidence. Just, oh, she didn't turn the suitcase over. We're going to take all the suitcases. I'm using a metaphor.
Sure.
It's just like, she didn't turn the child over. We're just going to take her. We're just going to file for default judgment. And now she's in contempt of the order because the other person has custody and I'm somehow alleged kidnapping my own flesh and blood. So they started a criminal action against me immediately. And again, this is part of the movie of it. His attorney had back doors into the prosecutor because what happened next? It happened so fast. This should not have happened for years. This doesn't happen as fast as it did. But within 2 months, they had a felony warrant out for me for custodial interference, which they allege kidnapping. How can a mother kidnap her own child? Can anybody answer me that? No. And so we changed safe houses, me and my baby. I might tear up at this part. That afternoon, we played at the playground for 3 hours. He had just turned 4 years old. And we were en route back to the safe house, and sirens and lights flickered up behind us in the safe car, pulled us over, yanked me out of the car. My little baby is screaming. Give me my mama back. They immediately arrested me, put me in handcuffs, and I don't even have a traffic ticket on my record. Like, never been in the criminal system, all brand new to me. So now I'm learning the criminal system as well as the civil system. They arrested me for custodial interference. It's a relatively new code for really protective parents, primarily moms. And my son was handed off to CPS, and he's literally screaming and giving my mama back. That was the last time I saw him for 2.5 years. Did not know where he was, not one single word, no location. That's why I say my child was trafficked. Act number 2 in the movie scene. My child was trafficked. I didn't even have ID on me, so technically I was also trafficked. Like, there was no me. They did not have pictures, but they were not able to like specifically identify me. Again, our system is just so messed up. And I was hauled off to jail. They had $1 million bond on me. Again, this just shows you there's so much evidence that they wanted me silenced. $1 million bond for a person who doesn't have a criminal history, who was literally a mother of her child, who she was protecting because of the father's ongoing abuse and everything when they lived together, even post separation abuse. That's all this was. And so I ended up being in jail for 130 days because I couldn't make bond. Who's going to make bond on $1 million? Finally got out on a plea deal. And I guess I've been out of jail now at this point 2.5 years. And I lost everything to protect my son. I lost my car, my driver's license. The government hacked into my personal checking account, pulled almost $1,000 out to pay child support. No court order. I lost my business, home. I lost everything to protect my baby. And they wanted to keep me silent. And here I am. And Hope Rose is a metaphor for rising from the ashes. And I have been to the bottom of the ashes, let me tell you. And I miss my son every single day. The grief and just still going through this tragic and this capital T trauma has been a profound journey. And I just keep reminding myself that they wanted you silenced. And your greatest comeback is to speak out about what is happening. You are a threat. Using that as positive fuel of just like we're gonna get justice for these all these children and babies that are just ripped out of their mother's arms with no due process, no safety in place, just the humanity aspect of it. This child, you're just going to disrupt his entire life because of a piece of paper, because someone is so vindictive. They don't want the truth about them, of their abuses of you, to be shed in light. We're just going to rip this child out. So that is a very long 30-minute introduction of my story and what brought me to this place today. And it's really to give hope to anybody, no matter if your trauma is little t, big T, capital, all trauma, tragedy, grief, heartbreak, losing a business, divorce, there's so many levels and degrees of loss. And yes, my story is extreme. And I believe it's extreme for a reason. So I can give other people hope that if I can rise from this, so can you. And I am a mama bear, and we are going to make change in this system for sure.
Yes. Wow. So, do you have any contact with your son at all now?
I have continued the court process, and I got to see him for the first time in person in 2.5 years this past November. He has changed so much. It was just for a few hours. It was a supervised visit. There's a whole bunch of just stuff that's happening. I don't think I'm at large to say what's going on behind the current scenes. But he is a very different boy than he was when he was just ripped out of my arms. Psychologically, he's being abused. He's being told he has a different mother. He didn't even know who I was. And because I stayed persistent with the court proceedings, I finally got a positive verdict in October of 2024. And I won this particular court hearing. He did not have an attorney at that point. And I guess a month later, he hired an attorney, and he comes from a lot of money. I say this because it's laughable. This is how he's going to the ends of the earth to make sure I don't have contact with my baby. And so what did he do? He filed a domestic violence temporary protection order on me. I can laugh about it because it's so insane. And they're alleging that this custodial interference charge, which is, I will let the listeners know, it's a withheld judgment. It's going to be off my record because I've never been in trouble. So pretty soon this is going to be totally off of everything. I was on probation. That ended early because they're like, you haven't done anything. I'm like, I know, I've never done anything. All I did was just be a protective mom, like a healthy mom. And apparently that's a crime. Okay. Yeah, I did win that hearing. The judge was like, we're going to punt this out to trial. You have access with your son. Like, my son was never involved in the criminal investigation. Like, I've always been able to have contact, and the other party has actually been withholding the child from me. And that's just the crazy thing about this whole situation, is that there's been like almost 3 years where he's just in this default custody judgment that we previously had. I was able to have contact with my son. But how it's worded is if as the parties agree. And so because the father didn't agree for me to have contact, he's nope, I don't agree. I'm like, can I see my son on video? Nope, don't agree. You're forcing me back to court. My son is going to know I'm in his life. And so who's the real perpetrator here? I'll let the listeners make that call.
Yeah,
so yes,
I'm sorry, please.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and again, because I don't have children, I've not been through anything like this, but when it says that he has to agree to it, that doesn't mean that he has to agree to it within 3 days and you get to see your son. He can, up until you go back to court, he can say, I don't agree every day. And as long as he's not agreeing, you have 72 hours to agree on a time.
Because the way this default judgment was written, his attorney wrote whatever they wanted to make it impossible for me to have contact. It's just cruel. It is cruel to remove a child from his loving mother. It's despicable of what they did. And the judge signed, it's not even following the state that this order was made in. It's not even following their own codes, their own laws. It didn't follow any of it. It didn't follow any of that. You shouldn't be able to file default like a default judgment is typically when the other party doesn't respond to a motion or doesn't do something. But to bully the respondent at a hearing that's very pivotal in a child's life is absolutely wrong. And I cannot wait to blow this story up because when people get wind of what happened, there's going to be some outcry for sure. I think that I really am pushing for a federal lawsuit for the judge and the attorney that did this. They cause egregious, irreparable harm on me and my child. It's just so blatantly wrong. Yeah. So yes, in this default judgment that we previously had, it said, yeah, visitation as the parties agree. And I had attorneys email him of, hey, can we set up supervised visits? Nope, I don't agree. And I'm like, they're like, he is forcing you to go back to court. I had no other choice. Either I just walk away or I continue this process. And so as of right now, I'm continuing this court process and we are in court about every other week at this point. Yeah, that is
For me to say, but
yeah, that's what's brought me to this time and place. And I'm still trying to make sense of a lot of what has happened. And I get some clarity as I continue to move forward. And really, I've dived deep into my own personal healing the past couple of years and have been gifted so much healing. Just people hear my story and they're just like, how can we help? That's been incredible. And so now in the second phase of getting my story out, dipping my toe in the water and making this a global movement of hope and health and healing and inspiration of no matter what your story is, we can turn it around.
absolutely doesn't define us. And I'm so sorry that the world and laws and things are the way that they are. But I do believe that certain things happen to certain people because it takes a hell of a person and a fighter to make the changes. And I hate that it's yours and your child's expense, but I'm a firm believer that something is going to change and it's going to change for the better, and that you and your son will be united, and probably plenty of other people united with their children once this happens. And I know it's easy for me to say, but I really admire your strength, and I love that he, alleging, whatever word I need to use, that your not husband, ex boyfriend, father of your child, thinks that you're just going to not only bend one knee, but bend both knees and lay down and just stop because I'm out of money. I'm exhausted. I give up, and you're not. And I love that. And I'm so glad that I can be a part of sharing your story and getting this out there. We are a great community here. So anything that we can do, I'm always happy to. Like I tell people, when this episode is over, you're not done with me. You're stuck with me now forever. So you have a support team. I do have a question for you, though, if you don't mind, maybe a couple. I know this might be backtracking a little bit and it may not be anything at all, but do you think not being married played in your favor? Or do you think if you all were married, it would be different? Or do you think it would be the same outcome regardless?
Same outcome. The only thing, yeah, being married we would have just had to additional layer of getting an official divorce.
Yeah.
So the only thing I was missing was like we didn't have a paper marriage license. Yeah, I don't think that really moved the needle. Like he was going to take me to court one way or the other.
Sure.
Marriage license or not. Like it's just the type of individual he is. Yeah. And that's the thing is like most people are like, yeah, technically we were just boyfriend, girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, why would they just take them? Like, typically that does not happen. Like, you're just gonna put the child with the boyfriend. No, like the father in those situations, like the father will have like visitation and the mother remains primary. And that's why this case is just there needs to be some very, yeah, there's only so much I can do trauma wise on the investigative part. I feel like I just need other eyes of what was really going on.
Yeah.
Something was going on, and you cannot convince me otherwise. To have a criminal matter within 2 months for this, I know parents that have kept their children safe for 10 years. This was fast tracked immediately. So something's up. Something is up. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I hope at some point we can get to the bottom of what happened and really provide healing for my sweet boy. and healing for our situation, but for there's just so many children that are being removed from safe mothers, and they are being terribly abused, whether it's psychological or sexual or emotional, mental, by the perpetrators. And this has got to stop. Healing starts with us when abuse stops with us. And like another statistic that I always share is just shocking, but 3.4 women a day are killed by former or current intimate male partners. 3.4 a day. What is going on in this country? There's a lot of things that have little quotes that have come out of my experience. And one of them is, my soul has come here to be a good steward of my story. How can I be a good story of this grief, of this pain? And it has been dark, let me tell you. I washed my hair, like I might look put together right now, but let me tell you, there have been dark days. I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, oh, I just came out of jail and I'm going to fight for my son. It's not been pretty. And so I want to acknowledge that, because I think when we acknowledge like that darkness and the grief that we are experiencing, that's how we heal. We can't bypass the travesty of what we are going through. And so really leaning into the grief and giving myself space of, okay, we can cry. Here's get down on my sheepskin and have my crystals and my sage and candles and like 10 minutes, some music, and then move on, process with a friend.
I
And
allow
so,
myself time to sit with it, but I don't let it completely. And there's times that maybe I've taken the whole day, ordered pizza, watched junk television, cried if I wanted to. But tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do my thing. So I'm glad that you said what you said, because I think it's so important to sit with these things. We just have to not let it win. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned in sitting with it. I don't think you're going to be able to fully heal until you do. I know that even with my trauma happening 9, 10 years ago, I was 34. But as I was healing from it and really getting into therapy, I was finding things from my childhood that I was still struggling with. And so it became a part of my toolkit on how to allow myself to sit and mourn grief, and but also how to pick myself up. And so I'm glad to hear you doing that.
right. And, that it's been painful, extremely painful. There's another quote, it's not originated by me, but I don't need anyone else to change in order for me to win. And I've really taken that off of, you know what, I'm going to win this court case and we're going to get quote unquote justice. And justice is very subjective. Like one person thinks it's justice, the other person thinks it's injustice. But we're going to restore children to like their mothers. So yes, I can win court. I can do it like my soul came here to do, by healing me, by working on me, by keeping my power, all these spiritual isms of keeping the peace, and just, yes, of all the awful things the ex has done, I am doing my best. You know what? That whatever's going on with him, that's him. I can only like sometimes I'm like, oh, like I really would like to be angry at him. Like, oh my gosh, you keep doing this. And it's just like daily, it's literally a daily lesson of, okay, keep your power, keep your peace. Like you are more powerful when you know who you are. It's a daily practice. It's a daily process to really, I can win this through kind of the esoteric part of healing of, you know what, maybe we can eliminate court by doing the very deep work that I've been committed to doing, because the suffering has to end. And that's what this court system just keeps the cycle going, by controversy and motions and just back and forth. And I've really have been like deep in thought of like, how do I end the controversy while getting my son restored to me? I don't have an answer for that yet, because as of right now, it's the system. Sure. But I'm working on daily healing for myself and all my processes, and then teaching other people the same thing, because you can go through really dark times and still be a blessing to people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I always say is I'm very lucky as a gay man in the South. I did not know hate existed until 10 years ago. My family is nothing but amazing and loving and supportive. And, and then 10 years ago, I was a victim of brutal attempted murder hate crime. And
Mhm.
I said, I know so many gay people that would have laid there and died because they didn't have the family and the support system that I had to pick me up. And so if I'm able to take the ugliest thing that happened to me and turn it into something beautiful, then it's not going to be completely in vain. And so that's been my daily goal. And another question that I want to ask you, and then we can work toward the closing, but has it only been male judges and attorneys?
There was a female judge on the case about a month. So other than that, it's been all male judges and a female. He's had his attorney right now is female. His previous attorney was female. He did start out with a male attorney, but primarily the judicial system is male.
Because I just wondered because again, maybe I'm a little ignorant when I say this, but regardless of if his attorney is female or not, I don't see how that can play a factor for the fact of he's paying her. And regardless of what she morally or ethically thinks, she has a job that she has to do per his dollar. But as far as like, I just think about you're supposed to be able to set all your beliefs and things aside and focus on the facts of the case. And so the reason I was asking if it's men is because I hear these cases, I hear these things where their biases are playing a factor into their verdict and their punishment or outcome. So I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe I don't know if I have the 100% on the statistic, but I think it's when mothers allege any kind of abuse, I believe the statistic is somewhere around 98% they lose custody. And what the system has done, it's, oh, the mother's just trying to keep the child away from the father. And that has been proven false over and over again. And yet the system is just so steeped in this propaganda, brainwashing, money. There's so many lobbyists. It's all about money. It's an 80 billion a year industry. One of my goals is to abolish family court. It is a child trafficking system. Foster care, like children are like, I was on a podcast last week and the host's friend, just a heartbreaking story. Her husband died of cancer. She was also in the hospital. CPS came and took the child away just for no reason, adopted the child out in a closed adoption while she was like in a coma. The story was just insane. And now her son is 9, just ripped away from his birth mother. We are destroying the family unit on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This has got to stop. And that's why the country is more lonely than ever before, even though we're more quote unquote connected. At least we're digitally connected, but we're not physically connected. And, and part of my thinking is just like we are destroying the family unit on every which way. And it's just tit for tat. And whether it's court or foster, there's medical kidnapping, there's CPS, there's foster care. If you dig into those systems, it's child trafficking. That's what it boils down to. We were just
Have you
like
ever heard
children.
how my podcast got put on the map? As I had this woman reach out to me and she was like, "Hey, I was part of the troubled teen industry. I would love to share my story." And I was like, "What the hell is that?" And apparently, it's something that's been around for 100 years, and it's a religious organization that Paris Hilton was actually sent to the troubled teen industry. Her book came out about 2 years ago. And my podcast was the one that was able to be promoted above her head while she was doing her book thing. But yeah, so that was really cool. But the point of me saying all that is there are women that have been reaching out to me. And so tomorrow is the debut of number 2 podcast under the Surviving Network. It's called Unholier Than Thou. And it's about religious trauma with the IFB, TTI, all these things. We've had so many people reach out to us and women that have reached out to us where they have been sent to these troubled teen organizations. And the organization would have the parents sign custody over of their child to where these children now, these girls, in this case, now belong to this organization. They would be pregnant. Either that's why they were sent there is because they were pregnant, or they would be sexually assaulted while they're there and get pregnant, and they would sell their baby under the table. And this is happening as we speak. These places are still open. And women are reaching out to us saying, "I want to find my children," because they've just been sold under the table.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
So that's very, so you mentioned a few acronym, no, abbreviations like IFB. Are you familiar with like Bill Gothard, ATI?
Yep. Uh-huh.
I have experience with that. So
Oh, wow. So we definitely have connected. Oh, and I also just got to do a shameless plug for my new podcast that comes out tomorrow on podcast platforms. But I would love, love, love for you to check out an episode. I think it came out maybe 4 weeks ago. Her name is Victoria Ellen. Your story and her story reminds me a lot of each other. She is brilliant. She represented herself in court, just like you did. She went to jail, just like you did. She lost her children. She protected her children because they were coming home to her saying that their father was sexually assaulting them. And so she was like, "You're not going back." He got them back. He ended up disappearing for a little while, came back as a king. Like, it is politically ridiculous, like crazy. And her documentary is about to come out because she's changing laws, she's changing things, she's building a whole team and a whole network. And you all need to connect. I would love for you to listen to her episode and then shoot me an email. I would love to introduce you all because I think you all could really help each other with, you all have the same end goal.
awesome. Yeah, I would love that. I think.
She's brilliant. I'm getting chills even thinking about it. Like when you were talking, I was like, I need her to get with Victoria Ellen. She's out of jail. She has her kids back. And yeah, like she's done some amazing things. And just with the networking and connections she's made, she knows some high up people. And her documentary will be coming out soon. And I think that could be a really cool connection for you.
My documentary is coming out soon too.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up. I want to ask you first, what can we do to help?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing my story on your podcast. I really appreciate it. I guess follow me on Instagram. I'm Hope Rose Speaks across the platforms. And then there's some tangible ways. I guess I'm just hesitant to put them publicly because the sensitivity of my case, I could really use some legal help with the state I'm dealing with. I was told by the last commissioner the filing system is even complicated for attorneys, let alone person who's pro se representing themselves out of state. I'm doing this all from 1,200 miles away. And so maybe I can share with you offline of what state, county I'm working in. It's just for privacy, just because the internet can get very crazy. And I want to make sure like my son stays safe. I also don't want to be accused of anything. God knows that they can twist anything. So that's why I'm just being careful. But I do have some very specific asks on the legal side. And maybe Victoria Ellen can help me with that. And then, yeah, if anybody wants to help me on what happened in the state where this originated from, of the investigative part, really, there's stuff going on here, and just not in my state, but states all over. And if we can band together and overthrow this system, that's what I want help with. And again, this is just not about my case, it's with millions of cases. And to bring healing for the fathers, bring healing for the mothers. I have started like my own little membership called the Glow Up Sisterhood. And it's all about helping women, mothers through family court and giving them the healing that they so need. I have been so tremendously blessed with just being gifted so much stuff. I could have never afforded this. I came out of jail with a t-shirt on my back, like rebuilding everything. And so part of me is just like, if somebody wants to get in touch with me, it's like joining the membership. I'm offering it for free. You can pay for a membership too. It's 111 like a month or whatever. But supporting me through that, I really want, the more I can help people heal, we're going to change the system even faster. And then, yeah, there's another project I have. It's called Heal Thy. If you take the word healthy, it's Heal Thy, and Heal Thy mind, body, spirit. And so it's a monthly subscription box where I walk people through building one healthy habit every 30 days. If getting healthy feels overwhelming, like I need to lose weight, I need to change out the cookware, I need to walk 10,000 steps, follow this process. So it's a monthly box that arrives to your door with a very creative, innovative process, as well as online group coaching too. It's pretty cool. And that website is wearehealthyself.com. And so that would be a way to support me as I rebuild my life and serve humanity.
Yeah, I love that. And I will share all the links. What I want to say to you is this. I know that there's a lot of things that are still in process and motion and still going. I want to be part of the healing and not part of the trauma. So I do put stuff on social media and make clips of what we do and put on like TikTok and all the platforms. If you don't mind, I would like to maybe send everything to you first as I get them done and not post anything without your approval.
Okay.
And just because I like to just be transparent with that, I don't want there to ever be, because there was a time that I came across, and right when I was about to release something, luckily they messaged me and they're like, hey, something in my case broke. Can I put everything on hold? 100%. If anything like that ever happens, 100%. And luckily, I'm a few weeks pre recorded. And as I start getting the little clips and stuff before I release anything, I'll just email to you. You can watch them and say, yeah, I approve, whatever. And then also, too, I do little mini episodes. I've had people jump on for 10 minutes because there's been something else that they're doing or that has changed that they want to make public. This is an ongoing communication. And my community, we're small, but we're mighty and we're growing. And you mentioned the documentary. I don't know if you're able to speak on that right now, but if you are, let us
No,
know.
I was being facetious of putting it out into the ethers.
Oh, in the
Like,
universe.
yeah, my documentary is coming. No, if anybody wants to help me make one,
Yeah.
please let me know because
Listen,
like
so my co-host was also part of the troubled teen industry, but her father was one of the guys that ran the organization, and come to find out, he is an unknown serial killer. And bodies and little girls that have been missing for years are things are happening. There's things that I cannot say, but we are working with Netflix and starting a documentary series very soon. So I think that maybe you're meeting me at this time because we maybe can help each other. Let's definitely stay in touch. And seriously, please listen to Victoria Ellen's story, and then let me introduce you if you would like, or whenever you're ready. Keep me updated. I'm so honored to get to be a part of your healing with you. And there's going to be a happy ending. And I can't wait to have you back on the show to talk about that.
thank you. With hopefully my little boy, he might not be so little at that point, but yeah, with my son next to me. And I have very intent. My dreams are not dreams. I'm literally like in the astral planes when I dream, but I have seen myself like on stage and I'm giving like a speech and I have people in tears and all of a sudden like my son walks out. Like I've seen those visions.
Yeah.
And that's like just pulls me through. So I'm in belief and agreement with you. And
I love
yeah,
that.
like, yeah, Netflix series on my life. Holy crap. We can answer some of the questions I wasn't able to answer before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always like to end on something fun, and I think this is a great segue into it. If and when there is a movie about you, is there an actress you have in mind that you think that would best play your role?
I've been told I look like Liz was told to me like years ago, and with my background, I did not grow up with TV and actresses, so I'm like, I don't know who that person is, but at the time, I was told like you look like Angelina Jolie, and I was like, I don't know who that is. Okay, great. And then the other person I've gotten was Scarlett Johansson.
Yes.
So those two come to mind.
I can see Angelina. I'm having a hard time. I've never really followed Scarlett, so I'm having a hard time. But who I thought, and I was hoping you were going to say it because I wrote it down. Your mouth reminds me a lot of one of my favorite actresses. She's actually Australian, but she is in a lot of Americanized television. And there's a show that she's famously known for, and it's called United States of Terror. But her name is Toni Collette, and
Okay.
is brilliant. And as I was watching you, like I wrote it down in my notes. So when I ask you this question, this is what I want to say. You'll have to check her out too. But um, I have reached out to your PR and asked them to send me any links or anything that we can share. And they're working on getting me that and some pictures and everything. Thank you so much. And please be in touch. Email me. It comes to me directly. Let me know what you think about Victoria Ellen. If there's ever anything that I can do or my community can do, let me know. I'll always be happy to.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and we'll for sure be in touch. It's always funny when people tell me stay in touch. I'm like, I take people up on their offers. If you say you're going to support me, okay, I'm going to take you up on it.
Like, I tell people when I hit end on this, you're not done with me. And the people that are in my life now are the people that I've met via Zoom some across the world, but they're a part of my team and I'm a part of theirs. And it's just really cool. I think that we could do some great things together. I know that you said it's cold there, but I see the sun shining in on you and it's really cool. I'm glad I caught it on camera because right at the end, you were talking about having the visions of your son running up to you when you're on stage and you lean back and the sun just beamed in on your face. I was like, I think that's a sign of something. And I'm so glad that I have it on camera because I want to send you at least that little clip at some point so you can see it.
I want to see that too. I think that was spirit
It
because
was really cool.
there's no sun. If I flip, there's no sun on.
Oh wow, that's crazy because it just looked like when you were talking, you leaned back and it was just like this beam of light. And I was like, so I've got to find it in the clipping and see.
It was probably source.
Yeah, I believe that. And we got it on camera. So
That's amazing. I love it. How divine.
I know I'm going to make a note to get that clipped and send to you because even if that's something that you just watch every now and then as a reminder, I love and believe and stuff like that. I'm glad I got to have that moment with you.
Thank you. We are definitely connected. You're stuck with me.
Remember, healing is a journey, not a destination.
You are not alone in this. It's okay to take your time, explore different perspectives, and find what resonates with you. Healing takes courage, and we believe in you.
Together, we can enjoy the ride.